Thank you for joining us for another edition of Real Estate Services and Transactions, alternatively known as REST. This is a subsidiary of Real's Academy. My name is Oluwafemi Sanusi, and I'm so delighted that you are joining us for another episode. In the house with us, we have ESV Olaliko Abodere, who is a seasoned estate surveyor and valuer, and the lead advisor of Olaliko Abodere Consulting, a firm of estate surveyors and valuers. He is also the director of studies of Real's Academy. Thank you for joining us again, sir.
Femi, it's my pleasure. Thank you, viewers.
Yeah. Yesterday, somebody asked me a question that what is an interest in land? So I feel we should start on that note, sir. What is an interest in land?
I hope the person really knows that interest in land is not to express the desire to buy land.
That's important, yes.
Okay, an interest in land, actually what it means is simply the bundle of rights that anchors ownership.
Okay.
Interest in land is the what we call the abstract elements of property, landed property.
Okay.
It is an incorporeal entitlement.
Okay.
It is the seat of power to take positive decision regarding the use of land.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it is the seat of ownership. That is what anchors ownership. Because the fact is that land, we have emphasized that before, land is not capable of being owned on its own. So what anchors ownership in relation to any land is what we call interest in land.
Okay.
In some cases, we call it bundle of rights.
Okay.
Right? So that rights must necessarily pertain to a geographical space or a parcel of land and must be vested in whoever is so claiming to be the owner.
Okay.
Without it, there cannot be what we call interest in land. So interest in land is what conveys right of ownership. Okay. Right? And it can take different forms. Can take different forms in the sense that, well, classically we have two. We say we have freehold interest and we have leasehold interest. These are the classical, the two clear classifications that we have. But within these classifications, under the English Doctrine of Estate, we have various types of interest in land.
Okay, can you please expand on that, please?
The Doctrine of Estate now, under the Doctrine of Estate, you see, the forms of freehold and the forms of leasehold interest, they measure what we call the time in land. Okay. Maybe we'll come back to what freehold is and what leasehold is, but talk about the Doctrine of Estate, the kind of interest we have there. Under the Doctrine of English Doctrine of Estate, for example, we have what we call fee simple estate. We have what we call fee tail. We have life estates. We have estate port revire, which is conditional estates. We have estate in form of co-ownership, in terms of joint tenancy. We have tenancy in common. We have what we call riparian rights. We have way leave. We have profit appendary. And a lot of other sub-interests like that. All these that I've mentioned, they are forms of interest in land under the concepts of the Doctrine of Estate. So, and they have different features, different attributes. So, and the fact is that why we say English Doctrine of Estate, it does not mean they do not exist in Nigeria. We have them all around, everywhere. You know, one form of the other, creating them in one way or the other, and so on and so forth like that. So viewers should be aware of this. And that is one of the complexity about real estate as an asset. It's not something that is so simple, that is, you know, that is so clear. No, because that abstract element of it must be identified. And that is when you are to establish what you want to buy. Or what you want to sell, or what you are investing in whatever form, the abstract element is very, very important. Because that is the power that, you know, that's what gives the power for positive decision. the power to use, the power to forbear others from using, the power to alienate in any form, the power to sell. As a matter of fact, that is what contributes to value. That is what attracts value, so to say. Because if the interest, for example, let me just give a simple example. Think of somebody who has 6 floors of a building. Maybe his father got a leasehold interest from another family for 60 years, 55 years ago. I don't know if my scenario is clear. His father bequeathed that property to him.
Okay.
The land is built with 6 floors.
Okay.
In a commercial center. But as at the time the father got the land, he got a lease for 60 years. And that was 55 years ago. What happens now? Whatever he had bequeathed to the guy has just 5 years to go now. Will you compare the value if that man now, the beneficiary, is now to sell? Will he be able to sell that property as if he has a secured tenure? The answer is no. So interest in land is very, very important. In fact, is what every investor, everybody must know about. Everybody. And incidentally, I always say that everybody is a real estate investor. And as you said the other time, because land is primary to anything anybody will do.
That's correct.
It's primary.
That's correct.
I always, on a more lighter mood, I always say that why they say shelter ranks second to food in hierarchy of needs, right? I will say that is shelter. But when you talk about real estate, when you talk about land, it ranks first. It comes first because for you to even produce food, right?
You need land.
You need land. Anything you want to do, every man's activity takes place on land. So land is very, very important. Now, you cannot have that land and have peace of mind and have a secured title or interest or secured investment, right? Or something defendable if you are not sure of the interests that you have acquired. So that interest in land is very, very important.
Thank you, sir. You mentioned something about freehold and leasehold.
Yes.
So I just want you to explain the difference, because I know they are not the same, they're not identical. So I just want you to explain the difference between a leasehold interest and a freehold interest.
Yeah, I'm happy you said they are not the same. They are not the same at all. They are far, poles apart. I don't know how to explain. I'm trying to see if I can really bring it down to layman perspective. Okay, let me put it this way. A freehold interest is the optimum interest, the maximum of bundle of right that anybody can acquire.
Okay.
Freehold.
Okay.
In fact, in a loose sense of it, we say it's an absolute right in land.
Okay.
Freehold. It's an absolute right in land. It's a right in land that that is not subject to any sovereignty other than government control anyway. It does not have a lord that is answerable to. So, as a freehold interest, right, is not an interest where the holder will have rent obligation to pay.
Okay.
Compared to leasehold, when it's leasehold, the holder will have rent obligation to pay to his lord.
That's correct.
To the lessor. In freehold, there is nothing like that. Again, when it is a freehold, good. Freehold will always remain freehold, year in, year out. Even 100 years down the line, it's still what? A freehold. Or what does that mean? It's an interest held in perpetuity. It's a perpetual interest. In perpetuity means forever.
Okay.
Let's say it's granted 100 years ago.
Okay.
As at that time, it takes the form of what? Freehold.
Okay.
Forever. 100 years ago. Okay. Today, if you are assessing it again, it's going to be what? It's forever.
That's correct.
Still forever. Is that also? In 100 years to come, it will still be what? Forever.
Okay.
So that is the nature of freehold.
Okay.
And that's why it's said to be an absolute right in land. I said in a loose sense of it because actually there is no absolute right anywhere. The obligation you hold to the other party limits your right automatically. And that is in the word of D.R. Denman, said, absolute, dear viewers, I'm sorry about that. I need to bring this to your notice. That absolute rights in land could only exist in likening it to the right of a single soul existing singularly in a wilderness. That such a person is the only person that can exercise absolute rights in land. Because he can choose to shout, he can choose to walk in nudity, he can choose to do anything anywhere. Nobody is challenging him. Nobody is limiting his right. He can choose to sleep the way he wants. He can do anything anywhere. Right? Let me bring it to you, to closer to us. Let's liken it to your rights when you are in your flat or in your duplex. All family members, everybody had gone, maybe they've traveled. Right? You are the only one there. You can choose to walk in nudity within your flat. Your phone can be ringing and you are in the bathroom trying to bath. You can walk down to your phone and pick. Is that not so? You exercise right. That is the kind of absolute right. But in a situation where you hear your doorbell ringing, what happened? You quickly rush and tidy up. Your right becomes limited. So the Deman says that single person, singularly living in the wilderness is the one that could be said to have absolute right in land. That the moment he discovers the footprint of another person, his right becomes limited. So that's why we say it's in a loose sense that we say freehold interest is an absolute right. But if you look at the concept of the tenure, for example, because it will remain freehold year in, year out, 100 years running is still a freehold. 200 years running is still a freehold. So that makes it an absolute right. And there's nothing like rent obligations. You know. So in the light of that, is far different from leasehold. A leasehold interest is a time in land. That means it's for a determinable period. It's not infinite. It's finite. It's definite. And it can be determined. And it will definitely run off one day. So in my language, we say it's a wasting asset. It's a wasting asset. Why? Because I gave you an example the other time. Think of somebody whose father got a parcel of land, leasehold in a parcel of land for 60 years, 55 years ago. What does the person has now? 5 years. It's running off. It expires. It runs off with a fraction of time. Even though in real estate, if you consult professionals, there are measures against all these things to ensure that your investment is well secured. So that makes the difference. And for leasehold, you pay rent. That is fundamental. A lessee will pay rent to the lessor. And is whatever the lessor has granted to the lessee. The privity of estate is between that lessee and lessor. Right? The moment the term expires, the property refers to the lessor. Irrespective of in worst case, let it be an occupation lease. A building lease. In a situation where you get a long lease and you build there. People always ask me, are you saying the property will now go back to the owner will no more be the owner? I will say, who is the owner in this case? So we need to understand that concept very well.
Now, you mentioned that leasehold comes to an end. Now, what does the individual do when that leasehold comes to an end?
Oh, that's a very good one. There are options, and it depends on the instrument that created that leasehold. If the leasehold interest, if that instrument has what we call rights of renewal, then there can be what we call surrender and renewal. In fact, there can be renewal, but it's always safer for the lessee to surrender an existing tenure, no matter how little, for an extension of a new term. That's what we call surrender and renewal. That usually is always at a cost. That's why buyer must beware. It's always at a cost. But where that right is there, it means that the lessee can actually exercise that right to surrender, maybe 5 years, 10 years remaining, so that he can now get another longer tenure
Okay.
Yeah, and that has, it's a concept in real estate,
Okay.
and professionals know how to handle that. And I'm happy that, particularly in Lagos, Lagos have been doing renewals for a lot of people. It's amazing that in Lagos, a lot of lands are already running off. In Ikoyi, Kejajari, and so many areas like that, are running off, seriously, right? With less than 20 years. In fact, I am aware of just a surrender that had just been made to Lagos State of recent in Ibutemeta,
Okay.
in respect of a parcel of land that has less than 10 years to go.
Okay.
And the government is saying, okay, don't worry, we'll give you 50 years. You pay premium, you pay this, you pay that. These are things to put in mind when a buyer is to buy such type of property. And it does not mean that it's not transferable, or that one cannot buy, but one must buy wisely.
Okay.
And be guided, well informed when buying such, so that there won't be loss, or at least the exposure will be minimal. So it's the process is just to surrender that one and get a new term. But another one is, if it's not with government, one can process acquiring the residue of the lessor.
Okay.
Yes, you instead of surrendering what you have, you approach the lessor to buy off him the residue of his interest. Then that right will now be transferred onto the lessee.
Okay.
So that can equally be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Viewers, remember that at the bottom of the screen we have the details where you can send your comments, suggestions to, and questions as well, so that we can get back to you, sir. On a final note.
On a final note, I would say that please identify the type of interest you want to buy, and be sure that what you are buying is interest. It's not just the physical land. So in the light of this, identify the type of interest. Maybe if we have the privilege, we will be talking in more details about the various types of interest under this doctrine of estate. It's really very, very important for viewers to know. Okay. So be guided. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. With that, we've come to the end of another episode of Real Estate Services and Transaction. Please remember to stay safe and join us during the next episode. My name is Oluwafemi Sanusi. Bye from me.